I'm documenting my sound research laboratory results. I use Yamaha. I use my I buy appliances and research material. I'm doing electric and electronic research experiments. I buy the electronic equipment, the electronic appliances and devices, and mass storage devices like cassettes, vinyl plates, cassettes, CDs, DVDs, DVDs, MP3 players, radios, computers, monitors, and satellite and radio devices, and pictures, and in the storage devices there is a lot of material like films, music, and films, CDs and videos in the CDs and DVDs. And I'm researching on I'm studying neurology. I'm researching on endocrinology, neuroendocrinology. I'm studying the brain, more specifically the brain, the life in the brain, the pituitary gland, the hypophysis. And in the hypophysis, I'm studying the endocrinology, neuroendocrinology, and glandular endocrinology, specifically the circadian system of the dopamine circadian system, the dopamine levels that increase at night and are increased at night. They're highest in the morning and are used up in the day in sunlight, and in the evening they become low, and as one goes to sleep, and they're sort of like recharged at night until they become high enough to get charged in the day. And in the wake and sleep research, it's also important to know the different stages of sleep, when the eyes close and the five senses are switched on, switched off, switched sort of like pulled afresh, like from anode to cathode, from anode to cathode, the alternating current, like alternating current. We found that when somebody switches off, like a machine, like a human being, when he goes to sleep, he cannot hear anything, even if it rains, even if it thunders. Like if you switch on loud machines, or if you switch on loud machines, or people are talking, the person down here because he's asleep, but in his sleep he's hearing different sounds. And I'm studying these sound barriers, these brain barriers, these sound barriers, these brain barriers, these brain barriers, and those into the different brain regions. And these brain barriers are those that I'm studying using sleep research to study the different regions of the cognitive, the five cognitive functions of the brain, the different cognitive functions of the brain. And there are 12 nerves. There are 12 important nerves in the central nervous system. There is a central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, and in the central nervous system there is a sympathetic and parasympathetic system. The sympathetic system is controlled by the adrenaline and noradrenaline, and dopamine is mainly responsible for the parasympathetic system. The sympathetic and parasympathetic system depend on the balance of the hormones, and the hormones are released by the pituitary gland, in the neuroendocrine section behind, in the back portion of the pituitary gland, in the center of the brain, in the aqueduct, in the aqueduct, where there is liquid water in between the two portions of the two hemispheres of the brain, the left and right hemisphere. And the 12 nerves are starting from the top. There is the first is nervus opticus, and then nervus oculomotoris, and nervus olfactory, nervus abducens, nervus trigeminus, nervus which is the sixth and the seventh, sixth and the seventh. The seventh is facialis, the sixth is obliquous. The 7th is facialis. The 8th is vestibulocochlearis. The 9th is hypoglossus. The 10th is vagus. The 11th is glossopharyngeus, and then there is accessories. And the first one is for the eyes. Those are cognitive functions, recognition, that they recognize. They recognize and they recognize images, impulses, and process them and store them and give feedback of the impulses and react to the impulses. So opticus is the first nerve. It's responsible for light accommodation. Light accommodation in pupil reflex. It registers light and registers objects onto processes objects into images through the eye lens, into the back of the eye, and into the back of the eye of the eyeballs, and processes them into images, upside down images, and then they get processed. The images get processed through the cables, the nerve, which are like electrical. They are actually electrical cables, which electrobiochemical cables, actually like battery acid, like cables in battery acid, car battery. And those images are projected through the tractus ophthalmicus. They are switched in between after leaving the eye. They meet at the back of the eye, in the middle of the two eyes. They meet and are processed and are taken to the end of the brain, behind the brain, at a point called occiput. That's where the central optical region. That's where they are processed into images, and those images are projected to other regions of the nerve, through other barriers. Those are barriers that the impulses pass through, and they are processed to the other regions of the eyes, and then they are processed back as motoric impulses through the nervus oculomotorius, obliquus, and abducens. Oculomotorius is for the eye, for the accommodation of the eye, and abducens is for the ciliary muscles, for the pupils and the eyeballs, and obliquus for moving the eye to the top. There is obliquus superior for moving the pupils, the eye, actually the whole eye, to the top. Obliquus inferior to the bottom, and obliquus lateralis to the left and to the right. So obliquus superior moves the eye directly to the top and to the bottom. Obliquus superior, it actually pulls the eye from downwards. This obliquus superior is actually a nerve that's down, that pulls the eye. It pulls it's down and pulls the eye from behind to the top, and obliquus inferior is actually up and pulls the eye from behind to the bottom, and then obliquus lateralis is in the inside and pulls the eye to the left, and obliquus lateralis is there to the left and to the right. And then there is the nervus olfactory for the nose, for smelling. There is also like for the sense of smell, sense of sight, and the sense of smell. And then there is the nervus, the sense of taste, the tongue tasting. And that is basically the function of nervus trigeminus. And that's the fifth nerve, and the nervus trigeminus is divided into three roots: ramus maxillaris, ramus mandibularis, ramus maxillaris, ramus mandibularis, and ramus ophthalmicus. Ramus ophthalmicus is the first nerve, and it's responsible for nervus lacrimalis, for the train sac, for the tears. For the tears, it's a tears sac, a tears bag for the tears in the middle of the eyes, on the left and on the right of the nose bone, of the nasal bone. And when the eye pressure increases, it lets the pressure drop by releasing the tears through the train, through the tears sac into the nose, and the tears flow into the nose. There is also a similar function in the brain for when the brain pressure increases and the brain water flows through the through an aqueduct into the throat. And that's why when one it passes to that's why when one has a cold, sometimes that aqueduct is blocked by the swellings, by the swelling tissue in the swelling tissue in the ear, and one gets the whole the flow of the liquid, for example, is blocked. But there's a different function, and it causes the cold. There is a different function, and the sinuses are also controlled by the sinuses. The sinuses are small rooms in the nose, like there are seven rooms in the nose, and they're also responsible for resonation and for the air when it flows in, and then it's separated. These are actually organs and rooms, compartments which are similar to compartments in the animal world, in the animal anatomy. So it's just specific in the human anatomy because the human being walks upright and doesn't use his hands for walking, and his hands he can walk with his hands, and but his hands have developed. He can touch and use tools and other objects, and uses his hands for eating. Not only his teeth, but also he grasps his food with his hands and puts them in his teeth. Not like most animals, which grasp the food with their teeth, and they walk upright. But the anatomy and the biology and the reproductive system are actually the same in the animal world. And so there is nervus ophthalmicus for the tears, and then there is nervus maxillaris for the sensory impulses. There are nerves which are responsible for feeling. For the feeling, sensory means sensing, feeling for the feelings, and then there are the nerves which are responsible for the reactions, for the motoric reactions, and the opticus is responsible for feeling, for seeing, and oculomotorius and abducens and obliquus are responsible for for seeing. The opticus gets the impulses, it gets the impulses, and obliquus reacts, changes the direction of the impulses, changes and processes. They're like the muscles of the eye. They're like the mechanism. So opticus senses, and then oculomotorius accommodates, changes the sizes of the dimensions of the images projected into the organ, the eye. And then there is the organ, the nose, with olfactory for sensing chemical impulses for sensing chemical impulses, the intensity of chemicals in the air, chemotaxis, the intensity of chemicals in the air, like smell is the intensity of, like the intensity of curry in the air, the intensity of like something like sugar cannot be smelled. It can be smelled when we put it close, and then one tastes the intensity of the food color, of the colors. Something like onion can be smelled. That's also a chemical that's been processed just for smelling the intensity. And the muscles that are responsible for the nose, for the muscles are important. Is for the head, for the first example is nervus facialis. It is responsible for the mimicry, for the motoric functions of the muscles. And I must make this fast because I've minimized my documentations to 20 minutes each. So first of all, the general information about the general information. This important patient information so that the patient or the client can understand what I'm talking about in the function that I'm talking about, so that the patient can empathize, project these impulses into his memory or his or her memory, so that the patient can react to the impulses, So a nervus socialis, the facial nerve, is for the muscles of the face, on the face, the muscles on the face, the muscles on the skull, for the muscles on the skull. The muscles are the inner muscles, the muscles, the inner muscles, the red muscles, the muscles that look like people know as muscles, the inner as meat. They are horizontal from the left to the, or from the right to the left, and diagonal on the face, but horizontal on the forehead, and they flow downwards around the eye, over the cheekbones, horizontal over the lips and under the lips, and horizontal under the chin, and they're diagonal, a bit diagonal around the cheekbones, around the cheeks, and then there is the face. There is a skin above. It's about 5 millimeter, 2 to 5 millimeters thick, a skin over the muscles, and in between the muscles and the skin is a layer of fat, and the nerves pass through the muscles, through the fat into the skin. And nervus socialis is spread all over the muscles for the skin, for the lips, and for the cheeks, and for the eyelids, and for the ears twitching. And so there is nervus maxillaris. Nervus maxillaris is divided into ramus gustatorius, nervus maxillaris, ramus gustatorius for the hard palate and the soft palate. The hard palate is for the palate is the roof of the mouth. The palate is the roof of the roof. There's the hard roof and the soft roof, close to the uvula, close to that object. When one looks right into the eye, there is an object. There is a sort of like a sharp, not a sharp, like an icicle, like a spoon in the middle of the throat. It's called the uvula, and right in there is behind the uvula is the throat. So that nervus maxillaris is responsible for the whole region, and then there are the glands for saliva, glandula lacrimalis, and then there are the glands for the immune system, the lymph nodes. They are also under the eye, and then there are the taste buds. There is on the tongue, the regions on the tongue. In front is sweet, and then there is sour on the sides, salty and bitter, and they are all, one can taste them all with food. And that's nervus lacrimalis, nervus gustatorius is responsible for the taste buds, and then there are